Welcome to the All Outdoors Photography Podcast with your hosts Henry Doyle and Ryan Taylor, where we discuss all things related to outdoor and nature photography. In today's episode, Henry and Ryan discuss the latest news going on with the environment, climate change, and conservation. I hope you enjoyed the show.
All right, welcome back to episode 14 of the All Outdoors Photography Podcast. And we've got a very interesting topic this week and a very important one.
Yes, today we're going to be talking about all things conservation, the environment, and climate change, oil fracking, just all different sorts of things related to that. It's not going to be so much about photography necessarily, but it's definitely about the things that we enjoy photographing.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I mean, this conservation affects if you're a nature photographer, you really have to be concerned about this because this affects everything you're photographing, no matter what it is. So that's what we're going to be talking about.
Yeah, we'll try our best not to make this such a depressing episode. It's going to be hard though, because it's just every time I read the news about this sort of thing, like when I was researching for this episode, it's like nothing's really good happening, and it just seems like it's keep getting worse and worse too.
Mm-hmm. And we do want to say we're not trying to make a political statement, but we are following scientists instead of conspiracy theories and stuff. So just kind of disclaimer out of the way.
I will say I feel like it's timely because it is nearing election day if you haven't voted already. So I feel like this is a nice episode to kind of, if you care at all about environmentalism, to consider your options. But I feel like most people of our kind know. I kind of can guess what they're voting for or whom, but we'll just leave it at that.
I mean, yeah, I think it's kind of a toss-up, really. The nation's split, so yeah.
Oh, definitely, yeah, more divided than ever, I would say, but. Anyways, so activism of this sort, I feel like is really essential to what we do. I mean, I know the last episode we kind of talked about how you don't really need to be so involved in the journalism aspect of nature photography, but I do feel like it's good to brush up and be somewhat educated on these different issues and just the latest news involving this, because, if no one cared about the environment, then what would be the point of photographing it? I mean, it wouldn't be there, of course.
Definitely. Yeah, you'd have to turn to some boring indoor photography. Like, who wants to do that? Just photograph artificial plants or something.
Yeah, under studio lights. And I mean, it's whatever you're into. If you like to photograph still life, go ahead. But, I think both me and Henry like to get out there.
Yes. So, Ryan, why specifically is conservation important to you?
Well, kind of like what I just said, it's just, I feel like it's essential to care about what I'm photographing, because if I didn't, like I said, it wouldn't be there, and what would be the point? So it's like, it feels very disheartening when I do see lots of trash, welling up in a creek or something, or just people just, disrespecting a lot of the, public lands and stuff, because that could very easily be taken away from us, whether by just natural, the weathering of nature, or by, authority, where they could just close off different places and, just limit our choices. And I feel like changing habitats over time, you can really see the way they evolve, whether it's good or bad. It could be either way, but, it is disheartening.
Definitely.
What's that?
No, I said definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It is disheartening also to see them change for the worse. But I would say in my area, just because we do have a really nice, strong wetland corridor, is that I've seen over the years, both in photo and just my own physical, observations, is that the habitat's been improving also. So, and it's like, I'm situated here in Ohio. So, I mean, like, we don't really have quite as bad as, like, say, out west with the wildfires in, like, California and Arizona and such.
Yeah, exactly. I feel so bad for California. If there's a reason to get into conservation alone, that's your reason right there.
Because I mean,
never should a simple gender reveal party be able to create a fire that large, let alone a fire at all. Trees never should have been that dry. Just never should have happened. It's just horrible.
Yeah, I personally don't understand the meaning really of those parties. I mean, I get what it is, but I just don't get why we do them. But I mean, still, like, it should have been, these people obviously weren't knowledgeable.
I don't even think the parties is the main problem. I think it's just the dryness of the trees.
Yeah, because
they were just following a trend. Yeah.
Yeah, isn't it what they call a dry season? Isn't that the name of it? So basically, excuse my knowledge because I really don't know anything about trees out west, but I would just assume, if it's a lot of pine needle trees and stuff, and they just fall on the ground. Let's say you light a match or throw a cigarette, but it'll catch fire.
Yeah.
If it's dry
Mm-hmm.
season, and I mean
Yeah.
that seems to be what happened pretty much. Just
Mm-hmm.
something took flame, and look how it's just drastically changed the
Mm-hmm.
whole entire landscape.
And it's the same situation as well. Kind of right before the pandemic, you had those Australia fires that killed a lot of people, almost endangered the koalas. Just terrible. And a lot of this stuff is preventable. It's not the easiest thing to prevent, of course, but it takes deliberate action to fix. So
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's just still with these forests though. Is this the way they're all? It takes many years for trees to grow, obviously, and for to start out with small little tree saplings and to grow into a mature forest. It takes hundreds of years beyond both of our lifetimes, honestly, and for them to grow. So yeah, it's so just
yeah,
awful to hear all.
they take so long to go up, and they just come down so quick.
Yeah, just from Mother Nature itself. I mean, it's just like storms and stuff, or it could be foolish human behavior like this where wildfires are started.
Yeah.
Do you even know how many acres it is total that's burned?
That burned in Australia or California?
I guess both. I was referring to
Well,
California.
I mean, California was just devastated. We'll look it up. It's just crazy. I just you
Four
never
million.
imagine.
It says 4 million for California. 4 million.
Oh my god, that's horrible.
That's
And I can't imagine how many animals were in there, how many
oh yeah.
plants. Just god,
And
houses.
yeah, huh. Jeez. And then you look at like the fire maps too. And it's
Mhm.
like spread out. It's not just like in one central spot. It's like spread out, throughout the whole thing too.
Yeah.
And there's still new ones that are starting up. That's the freaky part about it. And they'll just start up overnight. You may not be even ready for it.
Hmm.
So that's really scary too.
Yeah. I had a family member who lives out there. He has to wear well, not anymore, but during the heat of the fire, he lives in San Francisco. He had to live or wear like a double mask nonstop. So not only
Yeah.
he has to wear a mask in public because of COVID, but then when he gets home, he has to leave two masks on to keep himself safe. Um, he's got this dog with kind of light fur. At the end of every day, the dog would be orange from the smoke. It's just
Oh my
crazy.
gosh.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. There's even a picture of a mountain lion cub, and it's like burned. So it has
Oh,
looks like it has gauze or something wrapped up on all of its legs. It's terrible.
but that's not actual gauze. It's just burns that created that.
No, it looks like it's rehabilitate. I mean, it's at like a hospital because it's like wrapped up
Oh,
and has like looks like duct tape around the gauze. I don't know, but it has like
jeez.
on its legs. Yeah, it's
Oh,
just terrible. I can't imagine something like that happening here. I mean, we don't obviously have that here in Ohio or really the Midwest. I don't think, but you know,
yeah, I can't really see that happening.
I mean, yeah, we've got it pretty good here. I think. I mean, by and large,
Mhm.
besides like
California is great, but it's dangerous. There's always the threat of an earthquake or a fire or just all kinds
yeah,
of things.
I think the more
Beautiful, but it comes
the
with a
popular
cost.
seems like the common thing nowadays is that people are just moving away from that
Uh,
from that area and that state,
yeah,
specifically.
everyone's going to Texas. It seems like.
That's yeah. I guess
Yeah.
it's the next best thing. I don't know why,
Uh,
but
yeah. It's a big difference. Big difference.
yeah, I don't. The state most likely to succeed. Secede. Can you say that right?
Mhm.
So, why is conservation important to you, Henry?
Well, I've always loved nature. I've been hiking since I was born, pretty much. Like on my parents' back, it's always been a big thing in our family. I just always loved nature. Even before I took up photography, I was just always out doing things, and I was just always really hurt when I heard about environmental problems. Gotten involved in some programs before. I feel like it's essential. Even if I didn't do photography, I'd still be trying to help with that. That's really all I can say. I love animals. I love wildlife. I love landscapes. And I want to make sure they're good for the future. And also, if I ever have children someday, I don't want them to grow up in a sweltering earth, with no beauty left.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, it's just problem with conservation is just like you got all these big name organizations. Like probably the one I can think of is like Sierra Club. That's such a household name by now, and they're a massive international organization about
Mm-hmm.
a nonprofit about raising awareness for advocating for environmental reasons and protection of both public and private lands. So I feel like I don't want to say, and plus with the internet, nowadays I don't feel like there's honestly no excuse to not be aware of these things and just to do the right thing. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I think everyone should be aware of that, even if you don't really necessarily go to a park or somewhere every single day or week.
Yeah. I mean, people are aware of it, but there's a lot of deniers of a lot of the main issues, which continue to cause just every year we go without action, it gets worse and worse. It's just, um, and in my opinion, I think the main problem is climate change, and both Ryan and I agree that it is a very real thing
Hmm.
and a very real problem. It not only causes warmer temperatures, it also causes more extreme temperatures. So, like colder winters, hotter summers, um, which can cause a lot of problems and really destabilizes a lot of things. Another problem it causes is it increases large storms like hurricanes. So, if you've been noticing a lot of hurricanes, we've gotten more hurricanes in the past 5 years than we have in a long time. What was that? A couple years ago, 3 years ago, there were like there was the Puerto Rico one, and there was like a couple more. You remember that? That was
Yeah.
crazy.
Didn't a few break away from a cell? I don't know. I'm not even sure if that's the right term to
Uh-huh.
use, but like, yeah, it was kind of like an outbreak of them, really, and just several in a
Mm-hmm.
row, and it battered the same parts of the world too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I definitely agree with you there. Like just the other day, I mean, recording this on October 24th, but like the other day, it was like felt like a summer day. You could walk out in t-shirt and shorts, and
Yeah.
I mean, I can't really relate it to like when I was a kid because I mean that's you're less aware of things but I do remember them being much more normal seasons and within the past even say 10 years even 5 years it just
Yep.
like you're saying it's just the more higher and lower extremes of everything. But I'm definitely noticing overall it seems like it's just being much more mild winters and much more warmer every
Mhm.
other season in between.
See, I can remember as a kid, I would always put away, like my winter clothes and have my summer clothes ready, but that just can't happen anymore because you never know nowadays. I was
Yeah.
wearing shorts 2 days ago, like you said, and I'm wearing sweatpants today. So.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, same here. It's like, and I know the joke, the running gag with Ohio. I mean, a lot you might know this, a lot of people do, but it's the weather always changes, a few
Hmm.
seasons, single day, and it's honestly even when people joke about it, it's a real thing because I've been noticing it really, really bad. The past couple weeks really is that I will literally change from like a long sleeve in the morning or afternoon, doesn't matter, and flip clothes and have
Uh,
something completely different. That's sleeveless or something. It's just
uh,
doesn't make sense to me. Or even in the same day, it'll just dramatically change in temperature.
this is yeah.
I understand seasons like in spring, it's a cold morning, but it's kind of a lukewarm kind of, midday or something. But like it's just, like we said, it's just the extremes of it. It feels like it's just getting worse and worse.
Hmm. This is a little bit off topic, but kind of based off these really changing temperatures for photography, I bought these pants. They're like khaki kind of hiking pants that I can zip off the legs and wear shorts
Yeah.
only. I'm really excited for those because sometimes you're out and sometimes you go out at 10 a.m. and then once it's 2 p.m. it's you go out at 10 a.m. and it's like 50 degrees. You go out once it hits about I don't know 2. It's like 90 degrees. It feels like so. I
Yeah.
would invest in those if you're a
Def-
nature photographer.
Definitely a lot of days with those. And I guess we're going to talk about pants now for a moment. But yeah, I have some Columbia pants. I don't know the name of them, but I literally love them so much. I bought 3 pairs, like the same kind, different colors. And yeah,
Mhm.
those are like what you're saying. They're convertible ones. So you can, remove, zip off and make it shorts. But I really don't use that because it's a pain in the butt to put them back on. But yeah, they're
Yeah.
great. pants. I mean, they're literally my outdoor hiking, photography, whatever pants, because I can just get them dirty. They're great. They're really water repellent too, which is nice. So, and
Mhm.
lots of pockets and stuff.
I think I bought the Columbia ones as well. So this episode is now sponsored by Columbia.
A local REI near you. Yeah.
That was scary.
I'm sorry. What is almost Halloween, I guess. So,
Yes.
yeah, definitely. So one thing I really, because birds are a big part of my work and what I choose to photograph, but invasive species. This is a very heated debate and topic with most birders. You don't even have to be a photographer, but just even a birder at all, is that invasive species. And what I mean is like, it's how do you explain this? It's like, so generally it comes from like, another country. A bird is introduced somehow accidentally, generally is accidentally, which this doesn't happen nowadays. It's usually what happened, a few centuries ago, just, by accident, like I said. And it's like, birds are introduced. And the problem with invasive species, because I've had to explain this to several people, like my mom and stuff, even because she just gets curious and is like, so why does it matter? I don't get it. Aren't all birds or whatever the animal is, aren't they all good? Aren't they all inclusive? Well,
Mhm.
yes and no. The problem is that I don't hate them on their own. I guess hate's a strong word, but like I dislike
Their impact on the environment. Yeah.
Yes, and the problem with invasive species or anything non-native, and this could be plants even too. It could be trees. I mean, it could be anything in nature. But I'm just using birds as an example because there's a few good ones. But is that you put them in a different, habitat and environment, another country, and the problem is they're so adapted. It's weird because they're so adapted to overtake that environment and not, drive out the other species that are native to wherever that place is. It would even kill them outright, and it would just overcrowd if it's a plant, take over a forest floor or something. And yeah, it drives all the different native competition that's good, and keeps a nice healthy ecosystem with a variety of flora and fauna. And the problem is there's no natural predators necessarily. So I mean, you're just kind of left out on your own, and this pretty much all this is pretty much like an apex predator, this invasive species, whatever it is, and it'll just crowd out everything else until it goes away. So it's a big part of conservationists is like if there's plants or something, they have to spray them with herbicide or something, some kind
Mhm.
of removal management.
I know for animals, some even shoot invasive animals. I don't know what my take really is on that, but some will even go to those extremes sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, it's if I would recommend everyone that's interested in this kind of thing we're talking about in this episode here is to look up the Migratory Bird Treaty Act. Most of you might be familiar with it, and so it pretty much protects. I mean, our current administration is trying to repeal it, has been for years, um, to
Uh,
some
God.
mild results. But anyways, the original intent of it is to protect because back in the day birds used to be shot and kept as like trophies and kind of taxidermist stuff. And if you're John James Audubon, it's like, or yeah, John James
John
Audubon.
James, I think.
Yeah, that's right. He, as revered as he is, like the Audubon Society is named after him. He didn't have such a good history because he used to shoot the birds he saw, and then he'd make the drawing or the portraits of them and such. So, but that's a whole nother story. Uh, and so, what this Migratory Bird Treaty Act is basically supposed to entail is that it protects all these native species from, like, say, birds. In this case of this act, is that it protects them from being harmed and killed, purposefully and intentionally. But it actually does not usually protect against invasive species. So I don't want to advocate you just openly kill them, but I mean, you technically can, and people do actually, or at least they trap them somehow. Like if they get in a
Mhm.
nest box and try to drive out, take out all the other eggs or peck the little, hatchlings to death. Just yeah,
Mhm.
awful stuff. Like the house sparrows, European starlings in my area are pretty bad, especially in urban areas. Lots of parking lots have them, tons. Starlings, they congregate in flocks of like the thousands even, and they just crowd out other birds. And I've seen them like firsthand at my feeders in my backyard. Other birds don't like them. You can tell because they will literally like fight over stuff. and kind of kick them out. So
Yeah, I know. Like you mentioned, the starlings. Those are definitely a huge problem. Huge problem. And then let's see, what other birds are there? Other problems.
do you have house sparrows?
Yeah, house sparrows are quite
Yeah,
annoying.
we have the first time I put up my nest box about two years ago in my backyard, just a single bluebird nest box. That's what I'm trying to get, at least as eastern bluebirds. And I saw some bluebirds for probably about a couple days early spring. I think it's about probably mid May, and then soon after, the whole summer, it was housed by a house sparrow. And I saw this male. He would always be singing on top of it, always going inside, and he didn't lay any eggs, so I guess he didn't attract the mate. But still, they will literally drive out other birds. And
Uh,
you think it would increase competition with more of them? No, it actually reduces it because now they're just winning pretty much all the time. You
yeah,
just
they can just dominate the ecosystem.
yeah, I mean, you look at the range, like the population range of like what the birds we're talking about, the starlings and the sparrows here, is that they just take over everywhere, and they're so adaptable to a variety of habitats for that reason. So you
Uh,
really, it's almost like I've heard populations of those in particular are kind of on the decline in recent years or decade, but still they're just everywhere, and it's hard to stop them all because you almost can't really.
I know for plants as well. Honeysuckle is actually quite the problem. You wouldn't think so.
Yeah.
Think like just an innocent plant, but it literally chokes other plants and just kind of takes over everything. I know a portion of my grandparents' property, actually up in Ohio, is completely taken over by honeysuckle. It's crazy.
uh,
Uh, just kind of destroyed the ecosystem a little bit.
Yeah, definitely up here we have that problem. Certain park properties, yeah, in particular the Japanese honeysuckle, which it's funny because that one was brought over, like I said, not really by accident in this case, because it was seen as a very ornamental plant and something that was very beautiful. And I guess if you didn't really know any better, it does look like a beautiful kind of weedy, bushy plant that looks nice and all that, and it smells good too, like honeysuckle or whatever. But
Uh,
yeah, as
yeah.
the name suggests, but still, it would, like I just said, pretty much same rules apply here. Is that it overcrowds other surrounding plants until there's nothing else left, and that reduces competition, and that makes whatever habitat you're in. It is. Do you really want to see honeysuckle everywhere? No, I doubt it. People like to see a
No.
variety of plant species or what have you.
Yeah. I know also zebra mussels are a big problem as well. I don't know if you really know about them, but
No, I
uh,
don't.
so up in Michigan, these zebra mussels will stick to your boat. So say you're transferring from like a big lake, like so there's Lake Michigan up there, and then there's like smaller lakes, at least in the area I go to. So if you're transferring your boat from like a big lake, you can get these zebra mussels on the bottom of the boat,
Hmm.
and then they can make their way into the smaller lakes if you put your boat in the smaller one, and they can really do a lot of damage in those lakes. So I know like things like that are also a big problem, and they're invasive. They were not originally from here. I forget where they came from, but maybe uh, Asia or something too. Uh, but yeah,
Hmm.
and they're invasive not only from another country, but they're invasive. They're just not supposed to be there, basically.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds weird, especially in the times we're living in, where we kind of want, at least with humans, everyone to be all, equal and such. So it kind of sounds a little weird and hokey to say that, like, certain birds are bad, the bad ones, and we got to get them out, you know.
Uh,
So I mean, it's a weird conversation to have, but it's different, I think, in this case. And
definitely, definitely.
yeah, yeah, and I want to make another point is that there's also a lot of birds that are introduced, and they generally are considered non-native, but they're not technically invasive because although those two terms are kind of go hand in hand a little bit, there is some overlap. They're not necessarily mutually exclusive. And one good example is actually the house finch, which is brought over from, I believe, New England, and that was introduced to the America and the states here. But it's non-native, but it's not technically invasive, but it is widespread, which you could say is a problem. But then again, it's like it's not really driving out the competition necessarily.
Yeah. Um, it is always nice to see something like that where it just it can coexist without destroying everything. But still, if you ever have the opportunity to bring in an invasive plant or something, just do your research. Do your research. I think there are protections, like specifically for plants. If you're like in Europe or something, I know you can't just bring a plant home with you. There's some kind of restrictions against that. Um,
Yeah,
but still be careful.
I've even seen, kind of going back to what we were saying about our last episode with like leave no trace and stuff. I've seen, this is kind of crazy to me, but apparently, like you got your hiking boots or whatever on, and they tell you a lot of places and organizations recommend that you wipe them off, like squeaky clean on especially on the bottom part
Yes, yes.
when you get home, because apparently, little seedling pods or whatever, whatever kind of gunk and plant material, whatever underneath your feet when you're hiking can be transported back home. So if you wear those boots somewhere else, you could almost in theory spread other, probably plants in this case, invasive species, at least the potential to, which is
Mm.
kind of freaky to me. When I learned that, about I think a couple of years ago, I was like, didn't think that was possible, but I mean, it's very much a possibility.
Yep. And it's also vice versa too. When you're going on a hiking trail, a fragile one, you can also bring stuff with you on your boots as well.
Hmm. I've seen there's not too many of them, but I can think of like two places near me, two locations that they have these. I'm not sure if you haven't or seen them before, but they're like
The
little
boot,
wood.
the like boot things.
Yeah, the boot scrubbers. Yeah, and it's like
Yeah.
to describe it to people, it's kind of like it's on the ground. It's usually near like the parking lot or trailhead, and it's just two like wooden blocks with these bristles, like hard bristles, kind of just facing each other. And there's like a little gap in between it, and it's about a boot's width, so you can basically just stick your shoe through it and kind of kick rock your leg back and forth, and it's supposed to like clean them off for you. It's really cool. I wish
I
there.
wish more
I wish
places
there.
had that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because I'm going to be honest, I don't wipe off my shoes very often. I
Yeah,
just when I'm done with those photography trips, I'm just so tired. I just don't
yeah.
feel like doing that. I already usually have to wipe down my tripod and stuff. But yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, I agree. I guess it's something I could improve upon, because I do get home tired. I'm like, the last thing I want to do is, besides taking off boots, is to clean them. So,
Uh-huh.
and usually, if it rains the next time I'm out or damp, morning dew, it usually washes it off. But
Yeah.
there are some places though you really need to pay attention to, where you step, especially, like we said, don't go off trail. But if you do go off trail, you probably have a higher chance of this kind of thing happening and spreading a species that you don't want. So the thing about certain plants, going back to that at least, is that usually the invasive species can like overcrowd and shade out the other plants below it. So it literally will shade over the plants because most plants, need sunlight, of course, and if they can't receive a sufficient amount, they'll just wither away and die, and probably not regrow or come back, the next season or whatever. And
Yeah.
I've even seen, or at least, because the seedlings and seeds can be carried in the wind, like milkweed is a common example, but that's not really considered non-native. But they could be carried in the wind, or even birds, accidentally will take them with them, and they'll be spread apart, dispersed along the
Uh,
landscape or wherever else too.
mhm. Now that part is fairly natural, which is good. I mean, there's nothing we can really do about that. That's just kind of always the way things have been. But what we can do is, like you said, stop spreading through our boots and through other means.
Hmm.
And I
Yeah.
know, like animal wise, too, like you really just kind of talk. We really talked about this last week, but just kind of another thing about conservation. Don't feed the animals. Like I don't want to say too much about it, but that just also can kind of mess up a ecosystem as a whole as animals become less strong, begin to weaken.
Hmm.
Because as you go down the line of animals, like like the food chain, no matter what link of the chain you take off, everyone will be affected, even if that's the top or
Yeah.
the bottom. It'll still affect the whole ecosystem. It's crazy if you ever have like read something or watched a video about how all the pieces fit together.
Hmm.
And if you just disrupt a couple of those, then it's major trouble.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. It literally is like a puzzle, and if you remove one piece, it just throws everything out of balance. Because naturally things eat each other, other things and such. And if one species goes away, especially one that has a pivotal role, it's going to just throw out the whole thing. Other animals will starve and such, and yeah, it's just not good.
Yeah. So, what would you say, in your opinion, Ryan, is the biggest problem with facing conservation right now?
The biggest issues, well, these wildfires, for example, like we mentioned, both the human-made ones and the ones that to some extent are out of our control, just because they'll always happen. And climate change too, of course, like we said. I think oil fracking is one you wanted to talk about too.
Yeah, so oil fracking. Generally, if I can explain it easily, it's just basically just destroying a mountain, pretty much. It doesn't have to be a mountain, it could be hill. They basically just drill into these hills and just absolutely destroy the landscape, kill all the animals there. It produces emissions into the environment. It's just overall a terrible thing. And sadly, both of the presidential nominees are not in support of banning fracking. Um, their reasoning is that people will lose their jobs, and yes, they will. I know that's a bad thing. I recognize that, but I also recognize that it's horrible for our environment and should never have happened in the first place. So fracking is a major problem, and it could happen. I know it happens a ton in Kentucky. It's a big thing here. Just destroy all those mountains. Um, yeah. So.
The problem with like a lot of these things, I mean, we've been learning, like humanity has learning over the past century, is like the things that we're doing are really bad. Like that in that case, we thought it was like, oh, it's good, the harvest resources and such. But then we realized, oh, this could run out too, and that's a big problem.
Mm-hmm. And we're running out of time now. I mean, we had every chance to fix these things, and people just ignore it on both sides of the aisle, really. I mean, not just Republicans ignoring it. There's Democrats that ignore it, too.
Yeah.
Just don't do the things that are necessary to save our environment. I mean, not to get too political, but we spend 60% of our entire United States budget goes towards the military when we're not even fighting any wars. And we still, even if we cut majorly, we would still have the largest military. I want that extra money to go towards a climate deal. I mean, it's really unacceptable, and we produce so much emissions. I know China produces a lot too, but we make a big impact. And I wouldn't feel too guilty personally if you think you're producing a lot of emissions from driving your car. I think that's fine, because the real problem is there's about 100 companies that are actually producing like 90% of the emissions that are causing all these problems. So through different programs and stuff, you can generally make a bigger impact by supporting legislature and stuff. You can generally make a bigger impact than just driving an electric car. That's good too, but I think overall, supporting different policies is a better thing, I think.
And yeah, I feel like it's such a loaded answer to say, like, drive a hybrid or something, because even those consume actually a lot more energy in some cases when you charge the battery.
And those sorry to interrupt, but those charging batteries, they still are powered by usually a coal plant. So
you still, in some cases, I'm not sure if the Teslas are an example, but like you have to go to a gas station and still use some kind of thing to recharge, at a station.
The real problem are these big companies that are producing all these emissions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's why I know it's a big deal with like Sierra Club and all those different activism organizations, is that they're always trying to like get their viewership to be like, hey, you got to hold all these organizations, or excuse me, like big corporations, like you said, accountable. It's all about accountability. So if we show these, if we spread the message, the information to these big corporations and tell them, hey, this stuff matters and you should care about it too, and good public relations as well, just make everything a lot better.
Hopefully. I mean, corporations have become pretty evil, a lot of them, especially those ones that produce the emissions. It's terrible. I mean, our country at this point, you can try to ignore it, but our country at this point is basically run by a couple big companies.
Yeah, you're
And
not wrong.
climate change is not on their list of issues. They just want to make a profit and rip off everyday Americans. So,
Or at least it's not important to them. It's probably very, very low on the
uh,
list. Maybe some of the higher ups might care, but like by and large, the
I
companies
would
like
say
you
some of the
mentioned.
lower people. I don't think the higher ups care at all, personally.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on a case by case
Uh,
basis. Some might care, but maybe it's just simply out of their control. What else are they going to do too? Yeah,
the
nah,
United States is literally doing nothing right now. I know, our great quote unquote president just cut regulations for these big companies, so now they can dump any kind of chemicals they want into bodies of water. I forget which state it was in, but he approved something like that, and now millions of people are going to have unclean drinking water because of him. Uh, he has this weird agenda of just helping corporations out instead of people. So yeah,
yeah.
please. I mean, I don't
Go vote.
like. Yeah,
Go
vote
vote.
for who you want to vote for. I don't. You know,
Just go vote.
if you align more with him, vote for him. If you align more with other people, vote for them. But uh, the current president does not support climate change, and I can't see him making any kind of positive impact, um, on this issue.
Yeah, and I doubt he's going to change his mind either. You know, it's
No.
it's just not going to happen.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know. I
he's
don't know
old.
what it
He
takes.
doesn't care. He knows he won't be alive for when the full effect of climate change really hits. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's speeding up, but like I said, I feel like the worst is yet to come. But I mean, it's like even beyond our
Mhm.
lifetimes, if it even goes on until
Yeah.
then.
I I've heard some number. It's just like 30 years or something till all hell breaks loose.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah.
From now, yeah. I mean, what would it be? 2050? Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
that seems realistic. It's
Oh my.
slowly getting that way. I don't know.
It's I feel like it's a drastic temperature, like we talked about this earlier, a drastic temperature change recently.
That's been the most noticeable
Past
for
5
me.
years. Yeah.
Yeah, I think in my I don't. It's funny because I really don't travel. We're all about outdoors, but like I really don't travel far, which maybe is a good thing because carbon emissions, like we said. But still, my worldview is very very small. Obviously, from what I've experienced, it's very small. But I think the one first and foremost thing I've noticed in my state, in my area, is that the temperature has been increasing very steadily. Over the years recently, and yeah, I don't get why people deny it. I just don't. It's look at
I
the
think
facts.
it's just purely a kind of bandwagon political clout kind
Stuck
of
in
thing.
stuck in their ways almost. It's like
Yeah.
they just are so. Was it saying they're dug their own hole? Not dug their own hole. They're still stuck in
There's
their own. Yeah, stuck in their own
yeah.
hole. You know what I mean? Like they're just so stubborn. They're stuck in their ways. They just yeah. They only care about what they know or like what they believe, and that's it. They don't
Yeah.
they don't they don't look at things with like an open heart,
Uh-huh.
or just like see a new perspective and hear the other side
Mhm.
out. And you might think,
And
well,
we
aren't
can
you the
we
same
can thank
person?
them.
But
Yeah.
sorry,
And make sure sorry, make sure you're calling your politicians, supporting politicians. I know personally I've done a couple of climate strikes before. Those have been fun and felt like I was making at least somewhat of a difference.
I feel like you're
Um,
part of a movement. Tell me more about
yeah.
that. Tell us.
It's kind of a student thing. It's just like protests. I haven't done them since the coronavirus, but
Mm,
um, it's like an effort to call people, and there's walkouts and stuff. It's very good. And I have
oh,
friends who are actually kind of student leaders of those, so it's pretty
hmm
cool.
that's neat. I've never
Mhm.
actually like participated in one of those, but like you said with COVID, it's kind of a little bit harder nowadays. But
Yep.
yeah, that's really neat. If I was given the opportunity, I probably would. I'd probably visit my local Sierra Club chapter. I think it's in
Mhm.
Columbus, I think. But yeah, I participate in one definitely. You know,
Mhm.
if I'm keeping
I've actually never heard of the Sierra Club before. I'm gonna have to check that out. I don't know how I haven't, but I haven't.
Oh, really? Yeah, John Muir, like way back in the day, what was that 1940s? I think they founded it, and it was originally for the national parks out west, like I believe like Yosemite, maybe. Yes, yeah, the ones out west, basically, and then that was the original intent, was to preserve those public lands, national parks in this case. But obviously, it grew into this from this grassroots kind of upbringing to this international, just organization, just basically about preserving everything, important.
Mhm.
Yeah, but they do a lot of if you sign up for like the emails, they I don't want to say they spam you because it's important stuff, but like they really drill in your head all these different issues that are at stake. They do their research about the things that are important. Raise awareness to them.
I would hope they're not a for-profit organization, right? They're probably
No,
mostly good.
no. Another good one is the National Wildlife Federation. That's a big one. I've donated to them in previous years, just like $20-$30, for a year. They're very, very good.
Hmm.
They really promote. Just one example is they actively promote in your backyard, kind of like we were saying earlier with like the honeysuckle, is to when people browse and try to shop for maybe like a tree or a shrub or something, or even just like a native wildflower. They really promote to always buy native stuff, native plants in that case. Um, so, like we said, so it doesn't reduce competition, and it actually increases pollinators. Like if you get like a coneflower or something in your backyard, purple coneflower, you're more likely to get native butterflies. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Because
Yeah.
like they actually, it's funny because like those kind of animals or insects will get, they're almost kind of picky. Like they don't like the non-native stuff as much. So if you want to attract more of them and such, then you get the native ones.
Exactly. And one more thing to say about the political aspect: support the Green New Deal. People will hate me for saying that, but support it. Support it.
Well, I mean, I agree. I've kind of skimmed over it some, and I'm all for it just because of the
Uh,
stuff that we're talking about, and we both believe in. But even then, I don't think you have to believe in that. Like that, what I'm saying is that deal. You have to believe in the ideals. I think, but like you don't have to believe in specifically the Green New Deal if you don't, because some people may not with every point that's made.
mhm. Yeah,
But yeah, yeah.
I'm obsessed with it. So
It's
yeah,
not. No, it's not a bad deal. I'm not saying it's
no,
not.
yeah, it'll
It
create
is. But it's like
jobs. It'll create jobs. It'll
it's what
it's
we need.
expensive, but if we cut a couple programs that we just don't need, there you got the money. So,
Yeah, yeah. It's a good one. So we can only hope it actually is put into effect. Maybe with the next president. I don't know. We'll see.
he's not going to do it, unfortunately, but uh,
Yeah, I don't think either of them are.
maybe AOC will do it when she runs in 2024.
Yeah, that's too long. That's too far away.
Yeah, our country will be burning by then,
Oh,
basically.
oh no, the whole thing. Yeah,
Uh,
I know. With I think it's in my artist statement. I have it posted on my website, but I talk about. Let me pull it up just so I can quote it. Quote my own artist statement, but basically, while it's loading here, is that it's. I briefly touch upon like about how the photographs are kind of ephemeral in nature. Like they're about things that could be taken away pretty easily, and things that we should really appreciate. And that's really a big driving point, behind my work, is that these things could be easily taken away from us for whatever reason. So
mhm.
let me look here. So here's like the ending of my artist statement. It says, as seasons change and species grow or disappear, I hope to bring awareness to conserve and learn more about these bygones of a forgotten era. Kind of pretentious, but
Wow,
yeah, I
some
know.
great language.
If my images want to make prospective viewers learn more and get out there, then I've done my job. And then
Dang.
acknowledging the past, recording the present, preserving the future. Yeah. So, artist statements. So they're supposed to be kind of dramatic and very wordy and poetic. But like what I'm saying is that pretty much, like I said, things can disappear. So I feel like it's kind of several fold with my work, and it's like I want to, photograph things to show if they do change. Be like, hey, this is what it looked like, or even like in the present, I could be like, hey, this is what we could potentially lose. So let's take care of it.
Exactly. You never know how long your natural area is going to last. I went to Banff. It's near like Lake Louise and stuff. I don't know if you've heard of it.
No, I don't think
I,
so.
I think that was like 2015. This is before I was a photographer, but anyway, we saw this glacier. It was just an amazing glacier, and nowadays it's almost gone because of the rising climate. It's just terrible, and like I said, you never know how long those ecosystems are going to last. So just photograph them, capture them. Who knows when Ryan and I are in our old like in our 80s, maybe we'll be out just photographing deserts because that's will be the only thing left.
And yeah, that's I mean, I've said it a lot, I think the big message about this podcast is repeating ourselves because you kind of have to, this stuff's so important to us. And like I said, do you want one habitat, like just deserts everywhere, or do you want a variety of, plants, animals, and different, species and everything, ecosystems? And that's why it's so important to, conserve all these things.
Mhm. Yep. Well, I think that's probably pretty good for the topic today. Do you have any announcements, Ryan?
Yeah, actually, quite a few big ones. So today, actually, in particular, I had another freelance event. I was doing a tree distribution, so it kind of goes with conservation a little bit here. Since in our area of Ohio, we had this Memorial Day tornado. It's infamous tornado by now. It happened last year on Memorial Day, of course, and so a lot of people in my surrounding towns, my town, my hometown, really is they all lost tons of trees and such. And so the local association I'm a member of, and it's been hiring me for different events like this. They, kind of hired me basically to go out there and, photograph the tree loading for, different people and such. So yeah, that was a lot of fun. Really enjoyed that. So I got a lot of images and both that and video to edit here soon. And yeah, lately I've just been photographing, trying my best at least to do fall foliage. It's been kind of hard, but today in particular, I feel like I've kind of broken the ice a little bit. Really started doing some
Mhm.
great shots. This late.
I don't know about you. Do you have good fall color up there? Because down here, it's been really bad this year.
It's been kind of it's iffy. I've had some both familiar spots I've gone to in previous years, and like they look pretty consistently good, depending on how early or late you go. But I went to some like new spots. Like there's several giant like dams that have you can get a nice view, a kind of panoramic view of the tree lines, and they've just been very underwhelming. Like I've gone to a couple this past week or two, and it's like they're just not that good because still like way too much green. There's like a few kind of pockets of like orange and yellow. It's mainly just yellow though in the woodland where I'm at, but it's just not enough red. Not enough red. I'm being picky now, but
And the warmer climate does also affect that. If you guys didn't know.
yes, yeah,
Uh,
maybe that has something to do with it too. I don't know, but
no, it is. Yeah, it definitely is.
yeah. I guess you're right. Yeah. Um, now that I think about it, but yeah, it's the woodlands. There's some good spots. I went to a place today. It has tons of hills, and some nice, beautiful views. And that whole, pretty much the entire woodland, any leaves that are on the trees were just a golden yellow throughout, which is it's pretty beautiful. It's kind of it all looks the same, like versus like or kind of like the same way summer has too much green. So it's kind of like that. But yeah, there's I don't know. It's hard to get a variety of different color there. So. But other than that, I also did buy a pop filter for my mic, and that should be coming soon.
Ooh, that's cool.
So yeah, maybe we'll upgrade the audio setup here for the podcast and the show here.
Mhm.
So it's exciting. But how
Cool.
about you?
I really don't have much. I got some pretty cool photos last weekend. I got some hawk photos, duck photos. So
Cool.
look for those on my Instagram. Uh,
Ducks.
Waterfall ones as well. I'll probably shoot tomorrow too. Get some, maybe try to find some speckles of fall foliage. But like I said, it's pretty bad down here.
Mhm.
Let's see. And I think that's pretty much it for me. I'm sorry if the audio quality for me is still bad. My mic is still trapped in New York. I don't know why. I don't know what they're doing, but
You
uh,
sound just fine to me.
yeah, it's not great though. I miss that nice mic, but uh,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's it for me.
Yeah, man. Sounds good though. So looking
Yeah.
forward to yeah, foliage really can last about another week or two, into early November, I would say. And then, all the leaves shake off by then.
That's really it. Only another week.
Well, of like good peak foliage color is what I'm saying.
Jesus, so this
But
is peak. Oh my god.
I'm just saying, yeah, it's like if you get a few windy days, it'll shake everything off because they just kind of they get the leaves get all limp in the stems, so they just fall off pretty quickly. So it depends, but
Jeez.
yeah, I
All
know.
right. Well,
But
well,
anyways,
thank you guys for watching today. Hope
yeah,
you
I hope
enjoyed.
it wasn't too depressing, but I just want to recommend everyone do the research and stay, involved, stay active, and educated.
Yeah. All right.
All right, see you guys. Thank you so much for watching the All Outdoors Photography Podcast. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and the video version on YouTube as well. You can subscribe down below, and we look forward to seeing you in the next one. Thank you.